Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Record Rangers podcast. My name's Andy Newport. I'm delighted as ever to be joined by my esteemed colleague Scott McDermott. Scott, I think it says Tuesday the 20th of January. It must feel something like the 345th day of January. How you coping yet? We've still got a couple of days till payday. Surviving?
It's the never-ending month. I'm surviving, but I'm barely keeping my head above water here, Andy. Just about putting food my plate for the kids.
I'm thinking about selling one of the wains. I think that's the only way to get to payday. But
sell myself, sell my body.
I'm sure there'll be a queue. I like that floating road.
Acres there.
Well, talking to somebody who's no skint, that's Andrew Kavanagh. He's had
certainly not
a busy month splashing the cash. The Rangers fans turned out on Friday night, hoping to get a glimpse of the three new signings the team has purchased this month already. We've only got to see one of them in Chukwani. Obviously, Andreas Skov Olsen, along with two Romans, get paraded, but just in terms of the game itself, 5-0 win over League Two part-timers. What did you make of the performance?
I'm not sure we learned too much, Andy, for the game. I mean, it was obviously a comfortable win, as you'd expect. I thought Rangers actually started sluggishly. They started like a group of players who most of them know they probably won't be there either. After the end of this month, or certainly in the summer. I don't think the two centre-backs covered themselves in glory, if I'm being honest. Nasser Giga coming back for AFCON and kind of continuing where he left off at Ibrox. And Clinton and Ciala, who, listen, still a young defender, but I thought there are question marks there as to whether he's really going to cut it at Rangers. I mean, he might in the future, maybe a loan deal for Inciala to get him out this month might be a good bit of business for Rangers. I'd like to see him actually going somewhere, staying in Scotland, maybe like I know he's been mentioned with Motherwell, but I don't think there is an interest there.
I've checked that out. There's nothing imminent in that one as far as Motherwell concerned. I agree with you. I mean, I think there's something there. I mean, a bit like Manny Fernandez, there's definitely a rawness there that needs to be sort of polished up. I mean, I just go back to, I mean, it's round about this time last year. Obviously, Rangers lose to Queen's Park, which was such a gloomy period under Philippe Clement. But the next week, they go to Hearts and win quite comfortably. And Clinton and Ciala played that game. I thought he was terrific that day.
That was his best game.
Yeah, and then obviously I think it was maybe the next week against St Mirren when the sort of wheels fell off, and he's never really recovered for that. You remember Barry Ferguson coming in soon after, and he gets sort of dragged off after half an hour down at Rugby Park. But I think if you can get back to the sort of levels he showed at Tynecastle, I think there's something there. He's got the attributes. He's strong. He looks quick enough, decent in the air, but it's maybe the focus aspect of it that's let him down on a couple of occasions. But I'm with you. I think if you can get him, a decent Premiership loan, obviously looks like Finlay Curtis will come on to that later on. He's on his way to Kilmarnock. Killier toiling at the wrong end of the table. Could that be the sort of move for him that might, give him an avenue to show his talents and to develop?
Possibly, as I say, just a club like that, like St Mirren, maybe. I thought, St Mirren play a back three, which is probably different to what Rangers will go with. But just that kind of level of team and just playing every week in the Scottish Premiership, getting used to the physicality. As you say, I mean, he get found out that game against St Mirren. You're talking about Toyosi Olasanya, I think, kind of had him on toast that game. That was then for Clement, and he hasn't really recovered. But I'll say one thing for Inciala. I mean, he's got a bit of resilience about him, because it'd have been easy for him to throw the toys out the pram, especially when Russell Martin came in, kind of cast him to one side, pretty much told him he had no future at the club. It would have been easy for him not to go away and sulk and immediately want out, try to end his deal, or just try and get to another club. But he seems to have buckled down and wants to actually hit it off at Rangers. So I agree. I mean, I wouldn't discard him completely, but I think he definitely needs a loan move. Definitely has to get out, play games, get minutes under his belt. As I say, get the physical side of the Scottish game. And he's still young enough. His profile's good. So, as you say, I wouldn't write him off just yet. But aye, apart from that, like the game was, there was positives in the game. Majowski, the obvious one, getting a hat-trick. A rare kind of chance for him to start. Obviously, Shamiti's kind of overtaken him again as a first choice striker. And we know it's against low league opposition, but that will just give him a boost of confidence, just getting the 3 goals. I think it was his first ever career hat-trick, which I couldn't believe. But that'll be good for him getting the goals. Took the goals well. And as I say, there was 1 or 2 other positives. I thought young Curtis came onto a game. The Asgard free kick towards the end. I mean, I don't know about you, right, but it was like one of the best free kicks I've ever seen. But my overriding feeling, and I'm sure it's the same for the Rangers fans, was that you almost wanted them to keep that quality of free kick. I kept that for an Old Firm game or a cup final. Today against Annan, the Scottish Cup, the 5th goal of a 5-0 win almost seemed like a waste. That quality, but. I
must admit, sitting at the game, and you've been there yourself, Scott, so many times. When you're at the end of writing a match report and your head's down, you're just taking up this cursory glance when you see a free kick getting lined up, and I just see it out the corner of my eye flying to the top bins. I'm like, that's some strike. The goalie's a bit suspect. He's not really moved, and I get back down to Clark and just finish off my match report, and I've absolutely slaughtered the goalie, giving him a 3 out of 10 because he conceded 5 goals. Only to get him and watch the replays and think, Chris, you could have 3 keepers in there.
No goalkeeper in the world. You could have put 2 of the best keepers in the world in goal. They still wouldn't have stopped that. I mean, in all seriousness, the movement to go to the ball, to get it up and down, the accuracy. Pinpoint the top corner. It was like. I think in recent seasons, Rangers-wise, the only one I really would compare it to, remember Taverniers at Tannadice against Dundee United?
Lipping up and over the wall and just sort of comes down with it's in the ground like a dart, that sort of rapid, sudden trajectory downwards.
That was a cracker. Taverniers at Parkhead was good as well. But I think Aasgaard's is the best at the lot in terms of the movement, as I say.
It flies into the side netting.
I know.
Almost, it's almost going sort of horizontal to the net at that point. It's not as if it's flowing through the net. It's flowing into the side net, and so it's almost sideways. It's like it's just the most remarkable free kick. It
just summed up Asgard perfectly. In terms of that technical, but we've said for the start, there's no doubt this guy has so much natural technical ability, but it's just the other parts of his game that he's got to try and put together, on a consistent basis.
I wrote a piece about him last week for the paper, and I think you are now starting to see signs that Danny Rohl is getting more and more out of him, and I think it's funny because that's the sort of thing that Rohl get criticised for. That he's his first 2 months, he's not developed, he's not improving the individuals. Yeah, he's improving the results the teams are getting, but he's not improving the individuals. I think you are seeing that. I think Chamiti's undoubtedly come on. Manny Fernandez has improved. Yeah, I'm not saying that I finished the article. That all 3 of them have got a long way to go, but I think you're seeing bit by bit Asgard certainly contributing more.
Yeah,
not just with the goals, which I think it's now 5 in the last 6 or 7 games, but his all-round game, he's more of a figure. He's making more impression in the 90 minutes.
I think the Aberdeen game was big for Asgard because yourself, when that team sheet came in at Pittodrie, I think most Rangers fans were looking thinking, this is not the type of game for Asgard. The weather was howling, freezing midweek, away from home to Aberdeen. Pitch wasn't the best. You're thinking that you don't play Asgard. He's a luxury player. You don't play him in these type of games. And especially off the back of getting hooked at half time against Celtic Park, on a kind of similar type of game, kind of derby type game. But I think the Pittodrie performance was big for him, because I think that night, to be fair to him, and I've been critical of him this season, but to be fair to him, that night he stood up. He played. He worked really hard in that midfield three. A lot of the work he had to do was kind of unseen defensive stuff, and at the same time, he occupied Leighton Clarkson that night, who Aberdeen were looking to kind of get them playing. Did that very well, and at the same time was a real threat in the box again from set pieces. And he's proved that earlier this season as well with a couple of goals. So I think that was big for him, both in terms of his own confidence, but also just the confidence for the fans that they can actually trust him in a game like that. And that goes for the manager as well, because no doubt there'd have been wee doubts probably at the back of Danny Rohl's mind about playing him in that game, but it was short numbers obviously in the middle of the pitch with Conor Barron out. So no, I think that was big for him. And you're right, a long way to go for Asgard, but there are signs there that he's improving. He's getting to grip with Scottish football. He's beginning to understand what playing for Rangers means, what's required. And if he can produce moments of quality like that the other night, albeit in a bigger game, a bigger stage, then again he's another one that he was getting written off at the start of the season. Probably hands up by myself included. He just didn't look as if he was going to cut it. But if he keeps going the way he's going, keeps developing, keeps improving, then he actually might become a decent player for Rangers.
Just to finish up on Friday night, obviously it was a much changed starting lineup. I think it was 9 changes made to the team. Only Gisama and Jaden Magoma were the sort of regulars in the starting 11. There's 5-6 guys in there that their futures are really uncertain. Is any of them really convinced you? I'm looking at Kieran Dow, who we've been expecting to leave for a long time. Rumours of him going to Hull, Joe Rothwell, rumours of Sheffield United. I thought the two of them were bang average at best. Nasser Jiga, as you mentioned, all looked really unconvincing. It was any of them really, even Danilo, again, a guy who's came for so much, a huge transfer fee, potential for it to have risen even more had they sort of ticked off all the add-on clauses, come in a really handsome salary package as well, against, as you say, part-time opposition. Just a really meh performance, just absolutely nothing about it, wasn't it?
Nah, you're right. I don't think there's a real future for any of those guys really that you mentioned. Giga's only on loan. I'm sure he'll go back to Wolves at the end of the season. Obviously, I'd be amazed, as you say, if Joe Rothwell and Kieran Dow aren't back down in the Championship towards the end of this window. Especially Rothwell.
Championship, they might be doing well in the Championship. You might be
certainly back down in England anyway. Rothwell's obviously got a big contract, so they need to try and get him. Out on a decent loan deal. Dowell's out of contract in the summer, isn't he? So there's no the kind of real kind of rush to get him out. He's just going to run his deal down. But you'd have thought, for his sake, and even if you can get a wee drop of wages back between now and the summer, then he'd want to go back down and play. He obviously proved the other night he's fit and ready to play. But in terms of getting into this Rangers team under Danny Rohl, these guys are only going to be part of the long term plan, and that's why it was actually good. It was a good game the other night just to get them some minutes and get them out there, as well as obviously the punters seeing it was good for the punters to see the new boy coming on in the second half. But I think for these guys, in terms of a short window, trying to move some of them on, then it was a perfect game for Danny Rohl, because he could obviously rest his main first teamers.
As I mentioned earlier on, I was busy crafting a 1,000-word match report. I'm sure all the listeners pulled over it's Saturday morning. You skiving again, missing another big game there. So you'll have I was otherwise my attention was otherwise focused that last half an hour when Tochi Chukwani come on. You having the benefit of a couple of lagers and you when you were watching the game. What did you make of the Danish under 21 international? What did you make of his performance and his performance?
Listen, hard to tell in terms of his actual performance. I mean, look, he kept the ball fine when he came on, just sitting in midfield. I think it's more just looking at him, Andy, in terms of his physique and the power that he's got. I mean, he didn't really show it the other night, but you would hope, for Rangers' point of view, he's going to give them a different dimension in the middle of the park. We've said this for a long time. Whether he plays number 6 or number 8, he's a different specimen, to the other midfielders that they've got, barring Diomande and Raskin.
So he will powerful on the face of it, doesn't he? He looks at
he does 100%. Aye, more height, more physique, just that, as I say, kind of different shape to him. And he'll give them a bit of variety. As I say, it remains to be seen. Will he be deployed as a sitter on his own? Like in certain games, if they go with 2 sitters, I'm assuming he'll be one of them. Or does he at times just be given licence to go kind of box to box? I think he said in his unveiling interview that he's capable of that. He can play any of these positions in midfield. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops. But no, certainly on the face of it, I think he does give Rangers something different, something that they've not had. And that's a bit of strength, a bit of power, a bit of physicality in there, which I think they've lacked in certain games.
I mean, he got a big roar from the crowd when he was announced before the Annan game. 2 Romans get a decent cheer as well, but undoubtedly the biggest of the 3 was reserved for Andreas Skov Olsen, the worst kept secret in Scottish football. It seemed to be that he was on his way. Spent all last week being bombarded by fans and friends and people asking when is this guy going to be announced. It finally came 5 minutes before kick-off when he appeared down the tunnel. I mean, the fans are excited, but they've got every right to be excited, haven't they? Because as much as, I think you could say he didn't have the things that entirely work out from in Germany, but if you can get back to the levels he showed with Club Bruges, even his first season at Northland, where I think he scored 26 goals and just over 40 appearances. I mean, if you can get him at those levels, then wow, what an addition you'll be to this team who are really crying out for that wee bit of imagination at the top end of the park.
Aye, I mean, you're right. The key thing here is that the fans are getting excited again about Rangers signings. I think Skov Olsen, he still has to go and do it, but again, on the face of it, he looks like a real statement signing, a blue chip signing in terms of the caps he's got. Where he's been, the fees that he's commanded. So it looks like a top signing, and as you say, that the punters are rightly excited. Look, he moved to Wolfsburg for 12 million quid, Andy. So let's be honest. I mean, the only reason Rangers are getting anywhere near him is because it just hasn't worked out in Germany for him. He's not played a lot of games. I think he's been there a year now. I think he went last January. Wolfsburg are struggling, near the foot of the Bundesliga. So again, that kind of maybe doesn't quite fit into how they're playing. I don't know. I've not watched them, but it just hasn't worked out. And an opportunity has presented itself. And credit to Rangers, they've pounced on it and managed to persuade them. Because I don't doubt there'll have been other clubs looking at that situation and will have been interested in taking Skov Olsen. So for Rangers to get in there and get that deal done, not just a loan to the end of the season, but also negotiating a fee to go and get him permanently in the summer if they want, for a fee I'm led to believe is in the region of 8 million quid. It's a huge bit of business for Rangers. And let's be honest, we've been saying for so long now that in terms of this title race, which Rangers were out of for so long, but are now back in it, a lot will depend on how the 3 teams do in the transfer market and the players that they bring in, whether they perform or not. And I don't think, I might be wrong, but Skov Olsen, I think, will be Rangers' top signing in this window. So he'll be expected to go and deliver performances, help Rangers carry on this momentum, get results, and ultimately give them a great chance of winning the title. So there's a bit of pressure on him, but as I say, it's just great for the supporters that they feel. I mean, look, we've been through a lot of it, covering Rangers, but these fans have been through so much turmoil in the last wee while. No, aside from obviously the title win, 2021, the run to Seville under Gio Van Bronckhorst, but in the main, you're talking about 15 years of toil for Rangers. Aye, and as I say, I just think there's a kind of feel good factor coming back. You don't want to get carried away. Still a lot of work to do on and off the pitch, but there's certainly a kind of just a good vibe about the place. Again, it looks like Andrew Kavanagh has learnt from some of the mistakes in the summer. He's obviously learning on the job. But as I say, I think there's a real positivity about the place now. And look, they might not win the title this season. It's still going to be a hard ask given where they've come from. But I just think for the fans, seeing signings like Skov Olsen, as I say, not just on a loan, but potentially a permanent, it just gives them real hope and encouragement for the future. If it doesn't work out this season, I think they would get into next season with real positivity.
I mean, just not raining that kind of parade and the excitement that the fans have. I can't remember if I said this last week. I think I said it in the Game On podcast that we do, that I was speaking to a Belgian colleague who agreed with all the hype around him and the levels they can reach, but spoke about the fact that 22, 23, this was a guy that was being tipped to go Premier League, top 5 leagues, obviously goes to Germany. You've got to be asking now why at 26 he now finds himself in Scotland, and his sort of reason was that there's times undoubtedly when he's in the groove and his mind's on it. He's a fantastic player and a fantastic prospect, but questions over the ability to maintain focus, the ability to just do it week after week. Was it something that did they truly love football in that way, that somebody that's going to go out there and do it every single minute of every single game? But I suppose if you can't come to a club like Rangers with the ferocity of the city, the intensity of the fans, and in the midst of the closest title race in living memory with 3 teams involved in it, that's not going to grass you and get the best out of you and motivate you, then nothing else will really. So
that's it. Rangers need him to fall in love with Rangers and football again, and that's what Danny Rohl will be hoping for. And look, Danny Rohl would have spoke to Skov Olsen several times, you'd imagine, before the deal was done. So I suppose you need to trust the manager that he's obviously.
That is what Danny Rohl spoke about as well, isn't it, Scott? He said, more than anything, more than I've done any time previously in terms of helping out recruitment, this is more about getting guys that understand the club and understand what's required, and it's the mental aspect of it. So you'd imagine, having said all that would be the main bit of due diligence he's going to have done leading into this.
Look, I agree with Skov Olsen. There's always going to be question marks in terms of mentality and how he deals with adversity, as you say, why it hasn't worked in Germany. But you get the feeling he maybe is that type of player. He needs to be loved. He needs to be one of the main men in the team. He needs to be in a team that's winning and attacking and have a chance to win every game, which probably isn't the case at Wolfsburg, certainly this season. So it's whether Rangers can give him that, that love back. Certainly the fans will, because the fans will be all over him for the start. He'll be a real favourite for the off as long as he hits the ground running. He'll get it for the manager. And if Rangers are winning games and going for titles and going for cups, you would think that would make Skov Olsen happy to be there, want to be there long term. If all of those things come to fruition, then it could be such an exciting signing for Rangers.
Is that something that you need to discuss when it comes to Danny Rohl? I mean, he's been given so much plaudits for first of all, results. I think you're now starting to see bits of the style of play developing. They look a wee bit, nicer in the eye, certainly than they did when he first came in. But is the man management thing, that's obviously such a key part of management, and Rangers have had some absolute past masters at it down the years. But when you look at, do you think that's something that's maybe not been spoken about enough? And will that then be the key aspect, as you're saying, making Skov Olsen feel like he is the main man? Build him up. I mean, I think that's going to be the key aspect in terms of how the manager deals with this.
Yeah, I think so. I think putting an arm around him will be crucial if he's that type of character. And I agree on Rohl. I mean, look, we're no inside that training ground, but you go off your impressions and your dealings with Rohl, people you've spoken to. Everyone I spoke to before he arrived at Rangers talked about how good he was with players. Players loved him, loved working under him. The guys at Sheffield Wednesday that we spoke to. So they all loved working under him. And even just the kind of limited dealings we've got with Amanda, you can just tell he'd be a good guy to work for, good guy to play under. You just tell with his character, how he deals with us, how he deals with the media in general. You just get the feeling as a player, probably especially a kind of young player, with potential and maybe an up-and-coming player. I just think Danny Rohl, the encouragement he gives you, the tactical nous, I think he has got another side to him. No, I don't think he might quite softly spoken in that, but I don't think you'd want to get in the wrong side of him either. So he's got a wee bit of everything, but I think you're right, the man management side is crucial, always has been crucial at Rangers because of the type of club it is, this league we're in, the Old Firm rivalry. You need that, and as you say, I think it'd be crucial.
I thought it was key what Liam Kelly said at last week's press conference, but just the calmness about him and just not getting carried away. And because this is a city where you definitely can't get carried away with the highs and the lows of results. And I think that was what Russell Martin struggled with, frankly, because you look at the disastrous start and he became quite prickly in press conferences. You imagine that was kind of how he was acting in the dressing room. We obviously had that bust up with Nico Raskin, and this is definitely a club, a city, a league where if you've not got the right temperament, if you're too thin-skinned, then these things can get on top of you and it can explode really. And I think having somebody like Danny Rohl who is showing a calmness, is showing a ability just to think, coolly under. You saw him at Celtic Park. Teams getting
battered
pulled apart all the first half. Lucky to come in only 1-0 down, and this is going off of what Liam Kelly told us last week. He just goes in, makes a very slight tactical adjustment, sits the boys down, sends them out again, and it makes a total difference. And so if he can keep that, if there's going to be moments where Skov Olsen's attitude changes, if he can keep that cool temperament, then so much the better for Rangers, because it'll give them the best opportunity of getting the best out of him. Just moving on now, I think the frustration going into Thursday night's game against Ludogorets and what I think we're all fairly comfortable seeing as a dead rubber in the Europa League. The fans aren't going to get to see them. Obviously, the UEFA rules mean you can't register these guys even though they've signed. So what sort of team do you think Danny Rohl's going to put out? Obviously it was a second string, as we said, against Annan. Given how big the game against Dundee is coming up, the fact that Celtic are playing Hearts, the fact that Hearts have got a couple of injuries now, so it is crucial that Rangers can take advantage of any if any slip-ups come. Obviously what the two rivals are heading off, there's going to be something's got to give there. Do you expect them to go strong against Ludogorets? Because there is still a requirement for UEFA points just to make sure that if they get to win the league, then there's that automatic Champions League slot that's not quite been nailed down yet. How do you expect it to go into the team selection?
It's difficult. It's a difficult one, Andy. You're right. He is going to need to try and find a balance, but especially with the Dundee game so soon after, and that's really important. But I think my gut feeling is that after leaving so many players out Annan, the majority of the first teamers have had a fairly lengthy break now. No, they've had a rest, been able to miss that game. I think Danny Rohl will just want to get the momentum, keep the momentum going now, and that's why I think he'll play maybe not his strongest team against Ludogorets, but a very strong team, close to his first 11. And I would expect most of them to play again against Dundee, because at least after the Dundee game, I think it's obviously Porto away next, which is another dead rubber, and of course you don't want to go over to Porto and get a doing. But if he had to leave guys out of that game, then he could, because he'll then obviously have another important league game. I think it's Hibs away after Porto, and you would want to be at full strength for that. So no, I think these two games he'll go pretty strong. I mean, if players are carrying any wee niggles or knocks, no, he wouldn't risk them. But I think he'll just want to keep it going now, get back on that kind of roll again, pardon the pun. And look, obviously Ludogorets a decent side. It's a European game. No, you don't want to get embarrassed. Rangers have been obviously poor in the Europa League this season. No, there's still points to play for, as you say, those coefficient points. And because there is a kind of feel-good factor amongst the fans now, he'll just want a good performance and a victory just to keep it rolling into Sunday to the Dundee game. Don't doubt there'll be one or two changes, but I think it'll be a real strong 11 again, and he'll just want to get it going again.
I suppose just from Danny Rohl's point of view, I mean, the one thing he's not achieved yet in his short time here as a result in Europe, and obviously stepped into a very difficult situation. Things already looked sort of ominous when he came in. I think they played 3 games. His first game was Brann was the 4th game, I think, in the group, the 4th or 5th game, I think. And it already looked like it was an uphill struggle to qualify. But you don't want to be, having this sort of thing hanging over you that you've had 5-6 games in Europe and not managed to win a game. And do you think that will play in his mind?
Possibly. Look, he'll be desperate to get a win in Europe. No, he'll be disappointed because before the Celtic game, people were obviously there's a wee bit of kind of criticism there about hadn't he won a proper game. Aye, so I mean he's kind of put that to bed. I think winning at Parkhead and then even the Aberdeen game away from home, which was it's always a tricky game. So will it be in his mind? I'm not so sure. As I said, I just think that the main thing for him will be using this game as real good preparation, for the Dundee game, which he'll know is the real important one. Getting players back up to speed, getting them into that rhythm again. Of course, he'll want to win, want a big, a good performance. Not sure what the crowd will be like, because it is a kind of a dead rubber. So he'll not want it going too flat. No, he'll not want the performance to be flat. If the atmosphere's flat, he'll want the players to be at it. So no, I think that he's making saying a good performance, keep the kind of feel good factor going, and just take it into Sunday against Dundee.
Now you've left me to do the hosting duties again this week, so that means I can basically throw you this hospital pass. This is your comeuppance for it. Looking at the way Celtic have been going in the transfer market, still what we are 20 days into January, and they've only got one loan signing in. Looking at Hearts, picking up suspensions, picking up some key injuries now. Lawrence Shankland out for 6 to 8 weeks. Cammy Devlin's 6 to 8 weeks as well.
Yep.
With Rangers now having brought 3 in, we're still thinking another couple more to come in.
I would think so, as long as they get some out the door.
Yeah. Are Rangers now the favourites for the title?
No, I don't think they're favourites. I think they've got a really good chance of winning it. Yes, if the new signings, particularly Skov Olsen, hit the ground running. If they get a striker in, which I think is crucial because they're still not scoring enough goals, still not prolific enough at the top end of the pitch. If those things happen, then I think they've got a really good chance because, as you say, their 2 rivals are having issues in terms of, as you say, Celtic, we try to get players in, the lack of a striker there as well, and Hearts just with these injuries. But I do think I know it's a kind of boring answer, but I just think because Hearts have that 6-point cushion at the top, they have to be favourites, because it's not as if you can say, no, this line about, well, Hearts will blow up and eventually they'll collapse. I think that's almost put to bed now. You kind of know that's not going to happen, because they've got this far. No, they're in 22 games into the season, and the collapse hasn't happened. The injuries to Devlin and Shankland are massive for them. They're obviously missing Baningime as well for the Celtic game on Sunday. Another big blow. But I don't doubt Hearts will bring players in. No, we all know about Jamestown, the players that they can unearth from nowhere for kind of nominal fees. So I would expect another 2 or 3 to come in at Hearts, filling those positions. They're not going to let this opportunity slip, because of a couple of injuries. I can't believe for the life of me Derek McInnes or Tony Bloom is going to allow, is going to say, Shankland and Devlin's out, that's us, we're knackered for the rest of the season. I'd be amazed if they don't get replacements in this window to keep this going, because they must see this as a golden opportunity with that 6-point gap. But for Rangers' point of view, you need to try and take advantage of it. And obviously something's got to give at Tynecastle this weekend. If Rangers beat Dundee, they're going to claw something back. So they've got a brilliant chance. Rangers a chance we never thought they had. Fans didn't think they had a few, certainly a couple of months ago. But I think Hearts are probably still just favourites because of that lead they've got at the top.
I know you like a bet. Well, I was going to say, I know you like a bet. Would you like to put odds on it? What Rangers odds right now? Who would you put? What should the bookies be pricing them at?
I think Rangers are still third favourites. We're speaking to Gavin Berry the other day about the odds, and I think Rangers are still maybe like 94, something like that. Maybe 11-4 Rangers for the title. Which seems a wee bit as if the bookies are still kind of underestimating the kind of Danny Rohl effect and this kind of run that they're on. Still probably seeing Celtic and Hearts as favourites. Celtic being champions, I suppose the bookies always think they'll come good eventually. But I wouldn't mind a wee punt on Rangers if you could get 11-4, 3-1. I would probably take a bit of that if it was going.
Well, I don't have a tenner to my name, so I can't even think about putting a tenner on it. So we'll just need to wait until payday, and hopefully the odds have changed a wee bit. So, okay, I think that'll do us for this week. You can obviously follow along at all the usual places. So you can get us on YouTube, Apple Podcast app, and Spotify. So please like and review, as that helps us to spread the pod far and wide. You can also keep up to date with all the latest news coming out of Ibrox at dailyrecord.co.uk and obviously in the paper too. So Scott and I thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.